Right, so instrument setup. We talked about power concerns. Sometimes this can be a question from a prospect or a customer. What type of, how many outlets do you need? Things like that. So we've got the power requirements here, 3 to 4 outlets. I say 3 to 4 because the plate reader, the plate shaker, and the laptop, you will need outlets. The label printer, that might be an optional. You could bring pre-printed labels to show the customer or the prospect what they will look like. You don't necessarily have to set up the label printer at a prospect site. Communication connections, you'll need 3 to 4 USB ports. So in this case, we are going to use a USB hub. We have to connect the plate reader, the barcode scanner, the plate shaker, and the label printer. So we'll use a USB hub for that. System setup. The plate reader itself, I'm going to switch cameras here. We've got the plate reader in the back. We've got our plate shaker, label printer, barcode scanner. On the back of the plate reader, we have a power connection. We have our USB type B port, and then there's a printer port, but we're not using that. The power connection has a threaded collar on it, so you'll insert this connection into the back of the instrument, and you'll just rotate that collar to tighten it. You don't want to over tighten it. It's just there to secure that connection and make sure it doesn't fall out. If you over tighten it, sometimes that can cause issues where the power will come in and out. So if that's the case, you can just loosen that connection a little bit. Once you turn on, or once you make the connections and you have power to the instrument and you turn it on, there's a self-test, and this takes about 3 minutes. You can't do anything with the instrument. You can't connect to it within the software or run a calibration while it's doing that self-test. So there's a 3-minute wait. What I would do is connect it, have it do the self-test while you start connecting the other components. Just kind of being aware of time management, especially if you're on site. The plate shaker, it's a Q Instruments BioShake 3000. This has a power connector with an external power supply or power adapter, and then it connects for communication using a serial or an RS-232 port. So you can kind of see, well, I have a picture of it here. This will require the use of a serial to USB adapter unless your laptop happens to have a serial port. Not many do anymore. You want to make sure that there's a green light illuminated on the serial to USB adapter, as well as a green light on the plate shaker itself. Once you've connected the plate shaker to the power supply and to the computer, the electronic locking mechanism will cycle. So these 2 arms on these corners, these will go out and then back in and kind of cycle. That's an indication that you've connected it and it's talking to the computer. Barcode scanner, that one's really simple. It's just a single USB connection. When you plug it in, there's typically a sound that you've connected it. That's pretty much it. In some cases, you may need to initialize the barcode scanner, and the barcode for that is in the quick start guide, and you'll just need to scan that. Most of the time for a new install, it's not an issue, but for some people that maybe have older software versions and they're going back and forth between different software versions, you have to reinitialize. Label printer, same as the PCS, it's the same part number, same model. It has a power supply connection and then a USB type B connection. Again, if you're limited on space or time, it's a label printer. You can bring pre-printed labels. It's not a showstopper. What you'll want to do as well is add the plate reader and the shaker to ArtelWare. These instructions you'll see when you get into the software training, when you start using the software, and these are in the quick start guide as well. Same thing really as the PCS, you'll go to the add instrument button from the quick start guide or from the get started bar, and then select the instrument type. For the MVS, there's 2 different plate reader models that have been used. The older previous generation is called the ELX 800, so you'll see that listed on that window. The newer model, what you'll receive as a demo instrument, is the 800 TSNB. If you are not sure, you can always check on the side of the reader. It'll say 800 TSNB. Okay, so before arriving, again, you want to make sure that your calibrator plate has been activated. This is something that you only have to do once for the duration of that calibrator plate's certification, so annually, essentially. You want to make sure that you have all your consumables and supplies. So you need the calibrator plate, you need baseline, diluent, polisher A, and verification plates, either the 96 or the 384 well plates. If you don't have those solutions, you can't do a hands-on demo. There's no demo mode or anything like that where you can skip through windows. You need to have these consumables and supplies. Lastly, on that, before getting on your flight or getting in the car, check the expiration dates on the consumables. If there's an expiration date when you go to scan that barcode, the software is not going to let you proceed with that outdated solution or a calibrator plate that needs to be recertified. If you're on site or you're on location before you get started, make sure you prepare all your supplies and consumables, right? You've got everything set up. Make sure that you can launch and sign into ArtelWare. Again, make sure you remember the password correctly. If you need to reset it or anything like that, there's no issues. Make sure the instrument's been calibrated with the calibrator plate. Again, this takes just a minute, but I like to get it out of the way and not have to worry about it in front of a prospective customer. For the MVS, you'll run the calibrator plate and then also what's called a baseline plate. I will usually run the baseline plate before I start the demo. It doesn't really, in my opinion, add anything to the demo. The customer just wants to see, the blue and the red dye and how they're doing that. In practice, you'll run this baseline plate every 10 hours. So every day or every shift, you'll run a baseline plate. It's essentially just a way for the instrument or the software rather, almost like running the Cal-A vials on the PCS. It's just sort of a daily zero of the instrument. Setting the pipette to the desired volume, always helpful to have that dialed in so you can just immediately pick it up and start making transfers. An optional one here is to dispense diluent into the verification plate before you get started. So again, the diluent is the blue dye solution. You can add this before you add the Qualisher solution. You can add it after you add the Qualisher solution. When I'm doing a demo here, a virtual demo, I will pre-fill the plate with 100 microliters in each well of baseline. That way during the demo, I'm just showing the red dye go into the solution. It's a little bit quicker and it's the same process. You're just dispensing a solution. So I usually will do that ahead of time.